Hey, thanks for tuning in. In this video, we're doing a weekend review for the week ending February 4th, 2022. We're looking at a chart of the S&P 500. This is the weekly chart. We are still in an ascending channel. We are still above a rising 40. The 20 and the 10 are going sideways. This happened here, happened here. Now the question is, are we going to lose this channel? This is all that matters. I know many of you love to draw lines on your charts and count waves and do all that stuff, and that's cool. Channels are some of the easiest to spot. You don't need any Elliott wave counts, and they will show you the trend. Again, so will the moving averages. I know many traders that don't even use moving averages. I don't understand that. And they never draw channels. They constantly just see whatever it is their bias wants to show them, and then they put that on the chart. So let's zoom in. I will say we found sellers at the 20 and the 10. Look at the daily. We broke this downtrend. We have one more downtrend to break. Not that complicated. But what you do kind of have is this pivot here from October, and now this pivot here from January. You get below that 124 low on every single chart. This is the theme here. You get below that, what becomes this ABC down that we saw, which is nice, right? We love to look for those on the daily chart. And this here, ABC up, could really just be an ABC all the way down here, and then we'd use our fibs to give us some guides. The 1.0 extensions down here at around 400. There you go, 398. But guess what? This is just a guess, right? There's no reason to think price is going to go down there yet. Why? Real simple. Because we're still above the 10, and the 10 is sloping up now. We're above the 5 is sloping up. We're above 440. We're above the POC at 430, and we're above the pivot low at 420. To get to 400, you got to break 420. And if you're doing this right, you're not guessing. You don't need to guess. If they break below 400, they're at minimum going. If they break the 420, they're at minimum going to 400. There's your 5% move. You don't need to turn it into, oh, I shorted all the way up here and I'm going for 400. That's my trade. Well, what if you're wrong? What if we're right outside here? Are you going to close? Or are you going to just get short again at this gap fill? Well, now we're above all the downtrends. So, I mean, you see how this game gets kind of crazy when you come at it with a bias, right? We're in an ascending channel. This is the bias. The trend is up. You want to sit here and guess tops? Stop following me. It's not what I do. The bias is long until they prove that they've broken this downtrend. And if they break this uptrend, and if they break this uptrend, there's a few things that start to come into play. We either do a 50% retrace right here of this move higher, which puts you at 400, or we retrace the whole move from the COVID lows, which would bring us down to here, 350, which is this previous pivot. And if you look at IWM, that's where kind of IWM looks like she's headed. So let's go right there now, right? That's that same area here on the chart. But look, I can also draw Elliott wave lines, and we can be subjective. Subjective, the key word. Okay, one thing I like about IWM, never broke this low here. So this, to me, could still all be part of the same wave, and we're still just forming some 4. If we break below this low here at 173.39, that's invalidated. But when you look at the weekly chart, this is the most volume on the chart going back to 2016. and it's all buying. They bought it up. All right, you think they're just going to go below that low without even bouncing? They're just going to slice through that low and not even bounce. Okay, maybe. Definitely possible. But what do they have to do before that happens? Well, they got to close below 191, and they definitely got to close below 180. What is this, 188? Again, so it's the same idea. Like, we don't need to guess. You know, you can be long against these pivot lows. And until we get up to the 40 or the 20, right, that's where you would be shorting. We haven't even tagged these levels yet. Everyone's shorting down here, shorting in the hole. You could short this breakdown. That's a valid short. Close below this level, sell the rally the next day. You know, what's your target? Just a simple visual. That was our target. Right? It worked. It did its job. So we got the same setup here again. Real simple. We could be long against that low. If we break that low, short it. That's where we're going. But don't guess and short up here. You didn't even hit the 20, right? And the reason I say don't guess is the weekly chart. This is a reversal candle on volume, on time. Why can't this be a zigzag that's already completed at the 1, 2, 3, 6 extension? Of course it can. All right, so we just don't have a lot of clarity right now. And what people want is clarity. And what the market makers want is no clarity. Because everyone's throwing in the towel, or they're whipsawing their trades. They have no conviction. Just pick a side. If you want to be a bear, then be a bear. Sell rallies. But do it the proper way. If you want to be a bull, be a bull. Buy dips. Wait for the market to prove that this is the area to buy the dip. We've been selling pretty much from 225. Closing below this 40 was the signal to sell. Any retrace into it was a great short. If that's the game you wanted to do, I just avoided. And we picked up the pieces down here. Now that being said, IWM's lagging quite a bit. Definitely. But what is this pattern here? Left shoulder, head, right shoulder. So all they got to do is get above 203, and this pattern, this bottoming pattern, will bring price right back up to 214. Now again, the same idea, you know, with all these charts, there's a bull and a bear case. You know, maybe you get something like this. Right? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Let's take a look at the cues. Again, everyone wants to guess. Until they break this channel, you buy the dips. You're in an uptrend. We're not in a downtrend. You have to remember this. You guys need to stop looking at hourly charts and 10-minute charts and start looking at weekly charts and monthly charts and ask yourself, is this an uptrend or is this a downtrend? Right? Everyone wants to say this is the top. It might be. Everyone thought this was the top. Everyone thought this was the top. Everyone thought this was the top. I'm not in that game. That's not what I do. So if you look here, all she did was pull into the 20. That's bullish, right? Notice every time she pulls into the 20, you find yourself turning on the television and everyone predicting bear markets when you're still above a rising 20 on the monthly. So nothing to see here. They close below this low, and this is really the theme on all these charts. You close below this pivot low, then what starts to be, you know, more of an ABC lower becomes a zigzag lower. And I'm sorry, a zigzag lower or a 5-wave move lower, right? This is definitely possible. And then you'd get some retrace of that move back up, and then you'd anticipate another one going lower. I mean, but that's all getting ahead of yourself until what? Until they close below the channel. You know, in this channel, bull. Get below this channel, get below this low from last week, then the target becomes 260, 300. One thing I like here is The PPO is reset all the way to the 0 line, and we still have this divergence in play. Right? Higher low, higher, not even really a divergence. This is what you would expect to see, a higher high on PPO. Now you don't have that here. This is a bearish divergence, and that's still playing out. All right? And what the bears want to do is they want to come down here and break this low in momentum while having a higher low in price. And that is what would put in something like this. Right? And now you'd be correcting to that 286, 50% of this entire move. I mean, that's definitely possible. But again, until we break below these lows, until they get below EMA 5, right? SMA 10, below this pivot low here, below this low here, you're in an uptrend on the daily chart. You got to know how to see this. When they closed above here, that changed the trend. They could come all the way back down to 337.95, still set a higher low, then come all the way back up and break this. All right, so stop guessing, have conviction, pick a side. Until this channel breaks, I'm bull. I don't see a reason to be bear yet. Full stop. You break below this, there'll be plenty of move left to get on the short side. Right? You don't need to be short at this top tick at 400. It's not how this works. Okay. That being said, let's pull up SMH. Another one. Well, this to me, still in an ascending channel, above the 40 on the weekly. Well, that's not a problem. Bull structure here, impulse wave higher, ABC lower, impulse up. We're just in a 1-2 of the 3 now. See how this 1-2 was very shallow? Look how much bigger this 1-2 is. So if this was something, a mirror of this move that we just saw, right? You'd expect something like that at minimum. That's how I view market symmetry, but just in general, like bull flag up, come back down, come back up. That's kind of how that works. We see that all the time. But really, we're still above this trend line. So what's the problem? Right? You just have to respect the weekly and monthly charts. The risk, obviously, on all of these monthlies is that the PPO is going to start to reset down to the 0 line again, which could definitely happen. Definitely. Right? But look, all this chart has done every time is come into the 20, come into the 40, and head higher. So, that being the case, we'll take a look at IYT, XLF, and XLE. This one here, we got to get some clarity. We got that doji last week. I like that look. We could still have a 1-2 pattern right here, pulling up wave 5. That being said, you know, I was hoping they would just come break this 240 low back in January with all that weakness. Come break the low, put yourself in an ABC flat, and then flip higher. Little look below and fail. But what you got now is this rectangle pattern. And the assumption is it's not going to leave the range. That's the assumption. So this is just a chop fest. This isn't a void. There's nothing here until we get to the bottom or we get to the top. And this is that non-confirmation back from November, right? The IYT was not confirming the move higher. And still hasn't, right? And had this gap here on all this volume, and then that gap was filled 3 days later. So that's not good. If this was going to be a breakaway gap or a runaway gap or something like that, because it had the volume, then you'd expect it to keep going. But what I'm seeing here is it was filled. So again, I mean, do we have this same setup on all these charts? Is this really a zigzag lower on everything? It's definitely possible. We could be doing this, right? XLE, this thing is not done. Sorry. It can be done. We did finally hit one of these fibs. But again, for the same reason I'm telling you it's not done, like SPY and QQQ aren't done, this is still in an uptrend. Right? Until we break the uptrend, until we get below this trend line, it's going higher. How high? As high as everyone disbelieves. Right? When you finally buy it, it'll go lower. I know many people have been avoiding this sector despite the outperformance going back to September. That being said, captured this puck going back forever. Not bearish, guys. Just got above the 200. The 40's crossing the 200. This can keep going. This does not have to stop. The only reason you think it has to stop is because you drew an ABC up on your chart, or you believe it has to stop. There's no evidence, fundamentally or technically, that this is going lower. When it reverses, you will see it on the chart, and then you can liquidate your energy positions. But until that happens, higher prices. XLF, ascending channel. Why would the market collapse if XLF is above all the moving averages and in an uptrend? Answer, it doesn't. That's not how it works. That being said, you could certainly come into this area and find some sellers. We had a gap down, and you printed a new low, and this is an expanding range, right? Look at this. See how it just keeps expanding? It's coming up here to set a new high. No two ways about it. You got the confirmation down here. You're going to come up here, and just like you did up here, you're going to set a lower high in momentum, and then you're going to pull back. But again, uptrend. So why is the market going to collapse if all of these sectors I'm showing you are in uptrends? It doesn't. They all have to be going lower. I know. Look, I can do this too. I know. See? Look, here we go. Boom. We're going to 300. But that's not how it works. That's subjective analysis. Until the technicals can confirm in an objective way, a way that you can go on your computer and identify it, and I can identify it on my computer, until that happens, and you can quantify it, i.e., maybe close below this pivot low, close below this uptrend, change the trend back down, come up, set a lower high, then come break whatever low they're setting now. But here's the reality. 337.30 is the higher low. They hold that low. Higher prices are the higher probability bet. And if you look at the volume, it's gone. The only way SPY and QQQ go lower is on high volume. So if they're done selling and they came up here and they bought it all up at this low, which is a 50% retrace of the previous move, which I've told you guys all about in the previous videos. Go back and watch them. But yeah, you come back here to this move. Boom, 50% retrace complete. To the dot. Okay, and this is the most obvious 5-wave move I've seen. Most obvious zigzag I've seen. Okay? And what obviously, what does everyone do? Oh, well, look. Maybe it's a double zigzag, right? See, because we only went up and this structure looks awful. Maybe we're going to go down again. Well, maybe you do. But again, that's guessing. Stop guessing. You don't need to guess. Just have conviction in the process and take trades close to risk. And until we break these uptrends, have a long bias. All right? I mean, when was the last time the PPO on the weekly was at 0? COVID crash. We're raising rates. We're whatever the hell happened back here in 2015, I forgot. Was this the election? Yeah, I think that was the election. I can't remember. Yeah, I think it was the election coming into that year. And that's what you're going to see. I mean, when the fear is really, really high and the PPO on a weekly is back at 0, you're not going to want to own the stock. It's just how it is every time. And when it's way up here, you're never going to want to sell. All right, so just have a system to tell you when the trend has reversed. All right, and I try to show you guys how I do that. I've got my strategy tester up here in TrendSpider, and I can load up my Momo coming and going or any of these strategies I use, and then chart them. And once I get the buy, I'm in. That simple. All right, so that being said, let's take a look at a couple stocks that came up here at the end of the day, and then I'm going to wrap this one up. EMPH breaking out. PPO, I love this look. Histogram finally positive and going above the 10. Look at this. The 10 is curling up. Do you see that? Curling up. Do you see this? Broke this high here at 130. Set a higher low at 113. A higher high. Oh my goodness. What do we call that? That's an uptrend. I know. You can do this too, right? You can draw this downtrend, an obvious series of lower highs and lower lows on a shorter time frame. You zoom out, obvious uptrend. Obviously, as long as 108.88 holds, you're still in an uptrend. The weekly chart, put in a low here, put in a high here, low here, high here. We broke that pivot low. So you could argue we're in a downtrend on the weekly. We got earnings next week, but she is starting to break out of this. She's capturing these moving averages. Some obvious targets become 177, a declining 40, and the 200. Real simple. Net. Exactly the same setup. Was in a series of higher lows. There are lower lows and lower highs. Comes out and breaks that series of lower highs and lower lows as she breaks the downtrend. Captures the 20. EMA 5 crosses above the 10, crosses above the 20. The 10's curling up. This is what it looks like when the trend changes. Okay, some obvious targets on the upside. You start to look at this whole move. Even if this is the start of something way, way worse, which it could be, you would anticipate a 0.382 retracement. So, to me, 29%, 42%, or 60% are the upside targets. That's a great setup. Absolutely great setup. DHR is another one. All right, broke this downtrend, put in a series. Well, we don't have that higher low yet over here. So we'll keep that one on the side. We'll take a look at Penn, which did put in a series of higher lows and higher highs. High, low, closed inside double doji after earnings. And the high here, neg 219, neg 213. So we have a bullish divergence on this chart. A hidden bullish divergence. Even though this was a lower high in price, it was a higher high in momentum. So it's just one of those things where you've got this downtrend. You now got the 10 and the 5 curling up. You've captured the 20. You've got this 40 that's still providing supply. So that's the sell and this is the buy. You're going to get a break. All right. And you don't need to guess. The market has already proven that she's in a series of higher lows and higher highs. Now, if that changes and leads to a new low, we'll know this week with a break below 41. And if you look at the weekly chart, you have an outside weekly reversal 2 weeks ago. And then we printed above this week. We did not close above, so we did not confirm. But what you are getting is a pivot low to trade against, and the bull volume is coming back into the chart. And where did it happen? This high here, all of this here, break above, back test. I mean, this is that throwback setup. This is an obvious level on the longer term charts. Obvious level. And here we are, reset the monthly PPO from 39 back to basically 0. This is what you want to see. And I know it feels awful if you sat through all of this. I did not. My last trade over here in Penn was over here, and then we got out right here. But you don't lose sight of these types of setups where, you know, no one's talking about this stock. It's been in a weekly and a monthly downtrend for quite some time. But we're getting to the point where we've hit prior resistance, and you should see some bounce. We're at the weekly 200. We should get back up to 58 at minimum, the 20 on the weekly. And if in fact this does turn into something more, you would expect to go back to the 200 on the daily, or this line over here, 56 again. Now you're at 40. I mean, that's a 29% gain from or 25% from where you closed. And the final one I'll look at, CGC. It looks just like Penn. The hidden bullish divergence, right? So a lower high in price, but a higher high in momentum. The bull cross, the bull divergence here. This angle of attack looks very strong. Has earnings next week, just like Penn did this previous week, and is right at the 20, which has provided supply going back 1 year. So at some point, that trend will be retraced. And when you break these downtrends, you capture the 10. They did capture the 20. Is that a trap? I don't know yet. We're going to have to see. But we've changed the daily trend. You have a series of higher lows and higher highs. Right? So as long as this low here holds at 674, the idea would be that you're going to break the 865 level. And if you look at the weekly chart, look at the range. Look at that green candle. All right, that's only happened a few times back here. This is a reversal. We came back and we closed the week above the high. 770 closed above. So did they confirm? Maybe. Is this an exhaustion gap on the weekly? Maybe. They filled it. They filled it within 3 candles. That's what you want to see. I mean, this to me is overdone. So at some point, you're going to find a rip your face off rally back to the 20, back to the 40, back up to this $15 level where this whole thing happened. When? I don't know. But keep an eye out for when these momentum indicators start to do this. You're starting to see buying again, as you see down here. And the sellers look exhausted. We'll take a look at gold and TLT real quick. I mean, there just is nothing going on. It doesn't mean it won't happen soon enough. But this could go, I mean, we could be in this range till April. There's nothing that's changed on this chart. And if people aren't, you know, throwing their money at gold, and they're not throwing their money at TLT, which I called this bull trap back here. I hope you all sold. I mean, this could easily be this. And if there's no flight to safety over there, then the money is still in the equity market. And if it's in the equity market, where is it? It's in XLE. It's in XLF. I mean, these are the leading sectors. XLU. XLP. XLK. A little bit weaker. But it's still over in there. They have not... They're not giving up on the equity market yet, at least from what I can tell, at least from where I sit. The same channel here, right? Even on this name, XLK, big tech, that's still an uptrend, guys. Right? We don't need to front run this move. Okay? When that move happens, we'll be on it. And what will be the first clue? And I'm going to end it on this today. You're going to break the low from January 24th. If they can't break the low from January 24th on any chart, then higher prices are in order. It's that simple. And I know we want to guess, and I know we want to get short up here, and we want to ride it down here. Those are your biases. Try to not have any. On that, I hope you guys like the content. We'll check you out in the next video. It's going to be an interesting week. They're going to break down out of these channels in the next 2 weeks, or they're going to start heading back towards all-time highs. Either way, there's going to be a big move coming. I hope you guys like the content, and we'll see you in the next video.